Hey everyone and welcome back to the Java tutorial series. Last time we explored conditionals and Boolean expressions. If you missed it, check out the link in the description. Today we're going to dive deeper in one of the most important and powerful programming concepts. This video is about loops. Loops let us repeat code over and over again, saving time and effort. By the end of this video, you understand the different types of loops in Java and how to use them effectively with plenty of examples. Let's get started. Our if statements from the last video and the loops we are going to explore in this video are control structures. Therefore, I'm going to create a new package control structures and move the class from the last video into this package. Inside this package, I'm going to create a new class called loops to organize our code in a structured way and write our code for this video inside this class. Now let's create a main method to write some print statements. Imagine you want to print all numbers from 1 to 10. Without loops, you'd have to write 10 separate print statements. That's boring, right? And takes a lot of effort with it. Loops allow us to repeat a block of code multiple times, either a set number of times or while a condition is true. And this is what we will use most of the time when you're programming in all kinds of programs. There are three main types of loops in Java. The first one is for loop, the second one is while loop, and the third one is do while loop. I'll explain in this video what the difference between those is and how you use them. Let's start with the for loop. It's perfect when you know exactly how many times you want to repeat something. Here's the basic syntax. We just write for, then initialize a variable, and then write the condition after a semicolon, and then update the variable to change the state. The initialization just runs once at the start, usually to set a counter variable, and the condition is checked before every iteration. If it's true, then the loop runs, and if it's false, it stops. And the update, of course, we need after each iteration. Typically, it's like increasing or decreasing a counter. We need this update because we don't want to get into a state where we have an endless loop. Our task was to print all numbers from 1 to 10, and instead of writing a new print statement for each number, we could just use a for loop, and here's how you do it. We initialize a new counter variable starting at 1, and as long as our counter variable is less or equal to 10, we print our counter variable, and after each iteration, of course, we need to increase our counter because we don't want to get stuck in an endless loop. And it's common to use short variable names, for example, I, if you use a loop. By the way, for those who might be new to this, I++ is a shorthand for I equals I plus 1, both meaning the same thing, increasing the value of I by 1, so you can use either. So we are going to print our counter variable in each iteration, resulting to print every number from 1 to 10. And as I mentioned before, we don't want to use long variable names, and therefore I'm going to replace counter as variable name by I. The most commonly used variable names for loop variables are like I, J, or K because they are short and easy to remember. The next one is the while loop. It's useful when you want to keep looping while a condition is true, but you might not know in advance how many times it will run. Here's the simple syntax. We have a condition, and while this condition is true, we have a while loop, and this code block repeats itself till the condition is false. Now we can also convert the code from the for loop to print each number from 1 to 10 into a while loop. We declare a new variable counter starting at the value 1, and as long as our counter is greater or less than 10, and as long as this condition is true, we are going to print it, and then after each iteration increase the counter by 1. And as you can see in the console output, we printed all numbers from 1 to 10. And the numbers before that are the numbers from the for loop, so therefore we have printed the numbers from 1 to 10 twice. Be aware that if we don't increase the counter by 1 at the end of each iteration, we will end in an endless loop because our counter stays at 1 and never changes its value, and therefore we are always going to be less than 10, and therefore this condition will be always true and we will print infinitely 1. The third type is the do while loop. It's similar to the while loop but guarantees that the loop body runs at least once because it checks the condition after running the code. You can see this at this syntax that we will have first the body and then the while keyword. So even at the beginning, if the condition is false, we will at least run the body once, and therefore the output is, at our example, hello world. Loops can also be controlled with break and continue statements. Break immediately exits the loop no matter what, and continue skips the rest of the current iteration and jumps to the next one. So I wrote if I equals to 3, we are going to continue with I equals 4 and don't print the 3. And as you can see in the output, we are going to print each number from 1 to 10 except 3 because we are going to skip that with the continue statement. Let's take a closer look at break. You might remember from the last video where we used break inside the switch case statement. In that context, break tells Java to exit the switch once the matching case is executed, so it doesn't run the next cases unintentionally. In loops, break works similarly. It stops the loop completely as soon as it's reached, regardless of the loop's original condition. So I wrote here, if I equals to 5, we are going to break this loop, and therefore our loop stops at 5. We are not even gonna print 5 because the print statement is after the break statement. Now I have a task for you. Please pause if you want to solve it yourself. You need to print a 3x3 grid of stars using loops. The output should look exactly like this comment. This is an advanced task because it shows how nested loops work. Now here's the solution. First we are going to declare a for loop iterating 3 times, representing the rows. And for each row we have 3 columns. Now with the outside loop we iterate through each row, and inside each row we want to iterate through each column, and therefore we are going to use nested loops. So again, we use nested loops, and the outside loop is for the rows and the inside loop is for the columns. And we iterate through each row, and inside each row we iterate through each column, resulting in exactly one cell in our 3x3 grid. And now we just want to print a star with a space after it. But after each row, so after we are done with each column for the specific row, we want to go to the next line, and for this I'm using an empty print statement after the inner for loop. And let's check our code. This looks pretty good to me. So here's a quick summary and comparison of these 3 types of loops. Remember, for loops are great for counting loops, and while is good when the number of repetitions depends on a condition, and do while guarantees one execution regardless of the condition. Also keep in mind the power of break and continue to control the flow inside your loops. That's it for loops in Java. Try practicing by printing different sequences and patterns and experiment with break and continue to control your loops. All the code examples from today's video are in the GitHub repo linked below, so feel free to check them out and play around. If you found this helpful, please leave a like, subscribe and hit the bell to stay updated on the series. Thanks for watching and see you soon.